You guys ready? Yeah. Okay, I'm almost ready. Good evening, everyone. All right, thank you for coming. It's 7 p.m. and I call the April 8th, 2024 School Board meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Board Clerk Maggie Smith, would you please call the roll?
Bridget Todd Robbins.
Here.
Barb Wunsch.
Here.
Crystal Lee.
Here.
Jennifer Deek.
Here.
Khadijah Islam.
Here.
Chris Lau.
Here.
Lindsay Need.
Here.
Maggie Smith here.
All right, with 7 of the 7 board members present, I declare a quorum. I note that the agenda has been posted, distributed, and sent to the local media. With this in mind, are there any changes to this agenda? I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as published.
So moved.
Chris has moved.
Second.
Khadijah has second to approve the agenda as published. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion to approve the agenda as published, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion to approve the published agenda has passed. And we do not have public participation this evening. Okay. All right, moving on to the district administrator's report. Dr. Mueller.
Yeah, just one item this evening. You'll see in your packet that we have included our drill after action reports. It is only required to do this once each year, and we did do it in November for this past school year, but we feel that the best practice is to do it at least twice a year, and you'll see that there's great improvements to the after action reports, which were submitted, and we're learning a lot. So we just thank our team for all the work that they're doing in communication with our families.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to recognition and thank yous, Dr. Mueller.
Yeah, I'll start as our athletic directors can come up in that. The week of April 22nd here, it is our thank all of the volunteers within our school district home, and we couldn't do that, do all this without them, and just want to encourage them to keep coming and helping, and we will find things for them to do. And if they're interested in volunteering in our district, to reach out to the building principal or even come to our district office, and we'll help them with that. All right, I'll turn it over to our athletic director. Go ahead, you can introduce yourselves.
Jason Love, Holmen High School Activities Director.
Ben Tashner, Middle School Associate Principal and Activities Director.
And we are here again to show some gratitude towards our winter officials. Just wrapped up the winter season. Fairly successful in terms of weather this year. Not a lot of shifting around, so that was fantastic there. The spring has not been so nice so far. But we had a number of officials come into our buildings for various activities, sometimes up to 12 or more in a single night coming through our buildings, and just always appreciative of their time and their efforts to make our interscholastic athletic programs fair and under control and organized. And, I think it's very easy to, find our emotion in the moment with these people if we're a parent or a coach or somebody who's really tied to the events. But at the end of the day, these people go home, and the reason that they showed up was to help us, and we do appreciate their efforts throughout the winter season, as always.
And I think the other thing that we really like is our officials in Holmen here are really dedicated to Holmen, and if we do have a cancellation or we need to fill in quick because we picked up a game, everybody's always willing to chip in, and they will always call to make sure that we have the games filled so that our students can play in those games and they enjoy it. So we appreciate them, all of them. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for all your work on organizing and getting officials for our students. So, just a couple other recognitions. We wanted to thank the Outdoor Tomorrow Foundation. They donated $7,500 towards outdoor adventure school sets, and it's just been a great enhancement to our physical education programs at all of our buildings. So thank you for that. And then we have one other recognition this evening. I just want to start by saying we're very as a school board here, they have a student representative on the board, and that's a great learning experience for a student to see how a board operates. And we've been blessed this past year with a student representative, Crystal Lee here, who has brought many great, she has enlightened us on many different topics and has brought she's represented the student body, and not just the high school, but the whole student body of the School District of Holmen. We're so proud of you and how you have done that, and you are we're going to miss you greatly. Yes, we are. And with that, I'll let President Deek kind of finish up here, and then we have a little something for you.
Oh, yes. So please come up in front here.
In the front?
Yes.
Should have warned her. Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. Okay, picture moment. Yeah, we don't want that on there. Put that behind.
Frame that.
Yeah. Yeah, we wish Crystal the best in your endeavors. Yes, you've done great.
Okay, finished? Okay, all right, moving on to reports and discussion. Item 9.1, LMC Director Jackie Pankhurst will present the long-range LMC plan. This item will appear on the April 22nd consent agenda.
Okay. Wow. All
Right there. All right.
So I'm here today to talk through our long-range library plan, which will be up for approval this year. So on this first slide is our vision and mission. This is something that we created when we redid our curriculum a couple years ago. And we included the Holmen strategic plan, so everything we do in the library kind of supports the things that are happening in the district. This one is just the administrative code in Wisconsin, which states that we have to have a long-range library plan on file and licensed library media personnel to assist in the buildings. And as part of the Wisconsin Digital Learning Plan, the state adopted the Future Ready framework, which is what we'll kind of look through in our long-range plan. So this just talks about the Future Ready librarian framework and how it's used to kind of create that library plan that supports all of our district goals and the different areas that we're going to look at. So there's 8 different wedges on this plan. And I'll kind of talk a little bit about each wedge and what we're already doing. And then we've got a couple of goals aligned to specific wedges. So the first one is curriculum instruction and assessment. And so what we did as a group is just went through every wedge and looked at what things we already have in place and then identified some areas in which we'd like to add more. So right now we have library instruction in all of our buildings, which supports general education curriculum as much as we possibly can. And that looks like a lot of like research support, media literacy, different technology things that support what kids are also doing in those general education classrooms. We curate print and digital resources that support the curriculum goals and also align with student interests. And then we've identified priority standards from the Wisconsin Information and Technology Literacy Standards that are taught at every level. The next wedge is the personalized professional learning. And this one looks a little bit different depending on what level we're looking at. So in the middle and high school, our schedule is set up a little bit differently. We are able to collaborate regularly with PLC teams in our building. That's a little bit more difficult for elementary just because of the way their schedule works. But this year we have gotten a lot more opportunities for the elementary library directors to collaborate with each other to make sure that instruction across buildings is aligning well. And then we also use interlibrary loans, so things between buildings in the district. And then we have access to materials outside of our district. So when teachers are looking for different things, we can access that for them. The next one is robust infrastructure. So all of our buildings have access to databases and other digital resources that come from the library program. In each building, students have access to ebooks and audiobooks. At the elementary level, they belong to the Wisconsin Digital Consortium, which is a statewide program that we purchase a membership for, and they have access to all kinds of different ebooks. The middle and high school have a district-owned collection. So those are ones where we actually go in and pick out the books that we'd like for our collection, and a lot of times it's books that support things that are happening in that general education curriculum. Students have one-to-one access to devices, so iPads and Chromebooks, depending on their age. And then staff also have access to mobile devices throughout the district. For budget and resources, we have common school funds, and each building's library director determines what resources their building needs in order to spend those. We use those funds to buy library books, databases, those kinds of things, and we also use them to support makerspace programs in different buildings. And then again, we utilize those interdistrict library loans and statewide loans to provide staff and students with materials that maybe aren't something we would want to purchase for our collection, but we might have a specific need for. Community partnerships. We partner with the La Crosse County Library System to promote and share public library programs. In the elementary buildings, they partner with their building PTOs to run different programs. This year, the high school partnered with the business ed program and did some fundraising to support some programs that were happening in their library. And then we also host book fairs that are open to families throughout the year. Data and privacy, we teach digital citizenship lessons at every level that align with those priority standards that we've picked out. So promoting online safety, securing information, responsible use of the internet, and then we talk about those acceptable use policies that students have. And we teach other media literacy skills that go with those priority standards that we've identified. For collaborative leadership, all of our library directors participate on different building level committees. We have library directors on the district technology committee. We have a library director on the DEI committee and one on curriculum council. And then at the middle and high school, again, we regularly collaborate with different teams to provide support and resources. Space and time, this is a huge one where we're doing a great job. Our libraries are open to staff and students throughout the school day because we have full-time library directors and full-time library assistants. That makes it possible for us to always have those open and available for students. This isn't something that happens in every district, so we are so appreciative of that. And then our high school library has some additional conference rooms that are able to be utilized by different classes. So those are the 8 different wedges, and we went through and identified 3 areas in which we'd like to do a little bit more work over the next couple of years. So our first goal that we picked out was to align curriculum standards to a K-12 scope and sequence. So we've gone in and picked out the priority standards and picked ones that aligned with things that were happening in general education classrooms. And we'd like to really go through those and look at them like for every grade level and make sure that we're hitting everything we need kind of as kids go through that K through 12. So we'll take some time to identify which categories we're going to pick to align. So thinking about like research skills and some of those media literacy skills. And then checking the lessons that are already taught, looking for gaps, and kind of re-planning out what skills students need to have at every single level. The next goal that we identified is increasing professional development delivered by library media specialists. And so for this one, we'd like to go through the programs that we have that maybe aren't being utilized as much as we would like, or identifying other highly valuable resources for staff members, develop some training materials for them, and then look at different ways we can deliver that training to staff. And then the last goal that we have is increasing the visibility of library resources that are utilized by staff and students. And so for this one, we're looking at collecting data on different projects or units that kids are doing that the library could provide some support to, coming up with those resources to help support those different projects and kind of implementing that, and then coming back to talk to you guys about things that we did. So do you have any questions?
All right, any questions?
I was curious about makerspace. Could you talk about what those? I'm not super familiar with.
Yeah, a makerspace is just a place. So for most of us, it's like a classroom or a space in the library where kids can create. And it's really unlimited as what they can do. So you might see kids like building things out of recyclables or cardboard things or coding or robotics. Pretty much anything that they can think of, they can do in a makerspace.
All right, other questions? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, moving on to item 9.2. Director of Human Resources Melissa Cates will present the 24-25 base wage rates for approval on the April 22nd consent agenda.
Good evening. So tonight I'm just going to go through all of the recommendations for base wage increases for all staff groups. And this will be on the next board meeting consent agenda. So just as a reminder, we do go by the CPIU, the Consumer Price Index, as determined by the Wisconsin Department of Revenue for July 1st, which is what our renewal of wages date is. It is 4.12%. For our hourly, and we have some non-affiliated staff as well, we are recommending an increase of 86 cents per hour for all of those staff. The numbers in parentheses are the totals for those. We are also recommending longevity increases and some comparability increases. We did have a few groups that needed to have an adjustment to their wage based on comparison of other local area districts for a total base wage increase of $408,041 for that group. And that total does include the wage-driven benefit cost impact, so taxes, those types of things as well. So this is at 4.12% is what that 86 cents an hour equates to for this group. Our nursing staff, remember last year we pulled our nurses out of, they came out of the teacher union, so they kind of are a standalone group now. Recommendation is to increase that group as well at 4.12%. The total with, again, those wage-driven benefits is $12,079. That 4.12 would be applied to each of their individual contracts. For our educators, we did meet with our educator group for negotiations, our HEA, and in one very short meeting, we came to a very mutual agreement of a 4.12% increase for all of our educators to their contracted base wage. In addition, there are supplemental increases totaling $137,933 for a total base wage increase of $1,200,720 for that group. Last group is administrators and directors, again, 4.12%. So the same recommendation for all groups across the board. Longevity increases, there are a few staff who meet the 10-year mark in that group, so they receive a longevity increase for a total base wage increase on that staff group of $149,238. That's it.
All right, any questions?
Could you just remind me who fits into non-affiliated?
So that we have three, we have two staff in IT and then our communication specialist that fit into that. They're salaried, but they have the hourly benefits, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item 9.3. Dr. Mueller will present the 24-25 CISA contracted services. This item will appear on the April 22nd consent agenda.
All right, good evening. So each year at this time, we bring to you our contracted services that we'd like to engage in for the upcoming 24-25 school year with our CISA 4 And actually, we're also going to show you some CISA 10 contracted services that we'd like to engage in. So our total fees last year for all of our contracted services was $145,452. Now, this is just a projection for 24-25, but we're looking at a total of $178,642. This can change based on our student population and what students we have within the district. So this is just of our population as of the time of the contract, but it does fluctuate. So you can see there's some inflation, as we see some of our expenses have a little bit of an increase due to inflation across the board, as we see in many of our areas. But not too much with that. We are engaging with the multilingual learner program, and what that is that's some professional development for our staff, because that is something we have identified as a gap area from our achievement data. So that is a service that additional this upcoming year. And then also $500, which we feel is definitely worth, as we know, the ever-growing AI, the topic of our artificial intelligence, and wanting to be able to engage with our CISA and their resources in that arena also. So those are the only two differences from the prior year. Then CISA 10. So in the past, the contracted services we would pay CISA for, but they were through CISA 10. So really now, basically, we're just paying CISA 10 directly for the services. So the two services that we will be contracting with CISA 10 for are, one is E-rate, which E-rate is a reimbursable through our technology, through different types of technology that we use. We can get federal grant or federal funds back for that. So it looks like $14,541 looks like a lot of money, but in reality, with assistance with this, we should be able to recoup that and more than we have in past years with that extra assistance. And then we've always had the environmental safety and engineering, and that's with training that we must do to stay up with OSHA standards and other state statutes that are in place for our employees. So with that, we would bring this to our April 22nd meeting for approval of our CISA 4 and CISA 10 contracts. Any questions?
Any questions? I don't know if you'll know the answer or not, but the AI piece of it, is that to just educate our staff on AI, or is that to help benefit them in curriculum planning, or is it to help our students? Or
It's more around, they are offering right now some webinars and some educational development of our staff and leaders in the district, and that's, I'm pretty sure, is what that dollar amount is around.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, any other questions? Okay. All right, thank you. And then moving on to item 9.4, Dr. Mueller will continue with the adoption of record retention schedules, and these will appear on tonight's consent agenda.
Yeah, so this is a fun one. So back in March of 2023, they came out with a whole new retention record schedule for school districts, and that replacing the Wisconsin records retention schedule previously. So before, we had a schedule that had all of our retention of our records within this one schedule. Well, that has gone away. And what they did is they have now what's called the GRS, which is our general records schedule. And it does not include all records, just those that they feel relate to school districts. So then what we are doing is we're also adopting through a crosswalk with the Department of Public Instruction these other records that we would keep and retain for certain amounts of time. So in the crosswalk that we'll use as a guide, it will tell us how long we have to retain all the specific records for. Then, along with this, then what we need to do is, after this is approved by the school board, then we send paperwork to the state I can never say archivist. at the Wisconsin Historical Society, and then it is on record as to how we retain our records. We tried to get in touch with them to find out if we had this on record previously. We had not heard back, so the next step is to make it official and actually submit the adoption form to the Wisconsin Historical Society. So then we will be official with our adopted schedules. So part of it is bringing this before the board. It is in our records policy, our public records policy. Our retention of records is within that. That is also on the agenda tonight as one of our policies. So any questions?
Any questions? No questions. Thank you. All right, moving on to item 9.5. Director of Transportation Dan Garrett will present an update to the previously presented UHT plan. This item will appear on the April 22nd consent agenda.
Hello and thank you. I don't think I have anything up here, so it's just me speaking. We presented this before, and I just came back with an update. After presenting this, we did work with the Sheriff's Department again. We just went through everything. We didn't drive through the district again, but we did talk on the phone. We went through, answered some questions that he had, that I had. And then we formally submitted it to the Sheriff's Department, and then they accepted it as it was presented to the board the last time I was here. And just as a reminder, the UHT, Unusually Hazardous Transportation, was for state aid for students who live within that 2-mile zone that they are deeming as unusually hazardous. And so we had to work with the Sheriff's Department to determine that, and it was all approved. So now we're looking for the board's approval for this so we could send it to DPI and look for their approval. So are there any questions on the UHT program? I think there was some confusion last time, but I think that was all cleared up.
Right, any questions?
No questions, but I asked a lot last time, so I just want to say thank you for your careful work on this and for all the collaboration that went into putting it together, and I have them straight now.
Oh, no, great. I appreciate the questions, so thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
All right, moving on to the consent agenda. For the consent agenda, the board has been furnished with background materials on each item or has discussed it at a previous meeting. These will be acted upon with one vote without discussion. Would any board member like to pull an item out of the consent agenda to be discussed and or voted on separately? I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as provided.
So moved.
Motion by Maggie. Second by Barb. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. All right, we are now moving on to the board debrief. I will call upon board members and ask you to present any comments or committee reports you have. And tonight, we're starting with Bridget.
Sounds good. I just wanted to personally thank Crystal as well for her time on the board. I mean, your enthusiasm and just the heart that you brought to the board is really inspiring. And, you know, I wish you just the best of luck in your future. And I know Barb will be talking about the DEI committee a little bit more, but just so much appreciation for so many community members being part of that work and really proud of this district as we continue to create our strategic plan. That's all I have.
All right, Barb.
Yes, so yes, the DEI committee did meet tonight, and I'd like to thank our administration and our leadership team for taking the ideas and recommendations that our committee had put together over the last few months and kind of put them into our long-range plan and relating them to our dashboard. And we went over all of those tonight, and I'm happy to say that by the end of May, we will be able to present phase 1 of our long-range plan to the board. So thank you for everyone who has contributed to that work. I would also like to say congratulations to our robotics team at the state competition. I believe that going into the finals, they were 14th. So that was pretty exciting to see. And that's all I have tonight.
All right, thank you, Barb. And Crystal, well, actually, let's save Crystal. Let's go to Khadijah.
Yeah, I guess I don't have a whole lot. The one thing that I was really excited to see is we have a Best of Lacrosse educator in our school district, and Mrs. Wopat was Madame Wopat when I knew her, and she was my French teacher when I was in middle school, and so it is. I have been a beneficiary of her incredible education, and so it's really cool. It should be a big point of pride for us as a school district to be to employ such a wonderful woman, and congratulations to her and to the Evergreen family for having such a great gal in their midst. So that's what I've got.
All right, thank you, Chris.
I just want to say thank you again to Crystal for your services here. It's been enlightening, and you've been a very good representation of the student body here in Holmen. So thank you again. And then we have a policy meeting on the 22nd, but you'll cover that later.
All right, Lindsay.
Yeah, I just want to comment on all the safety drills. I just appreciate that we're doing those regularly. I know just some thoughts when I was reading those was I know there was one of them that children were still on the playground for one of them, and one of the breakout sessions that I attended at the education convention was focused on safety in these drills and just encouraging that they be done in all types of situations, not just when the children are in the classrooms, that it's good to practice them and to even invite, have the drama departments involved and coming up with things, especially for the younger kids, like there's an alien invasion in the playground, like what are they going to do if something occurs and they are on the playground or they're at lunch or things like that. So I would encourage that. I look forward to kind of hearing what we come up with all these speaker systems not working and not everybody knowing about the drills, if there can be some kind of bullhorn or foghorn or something that alerts everyone or what the plan is for that. So I enjoy kind of reading those and the progress. And I know that those topics are noted by everybody in the plans and what was observed and things like that. And then I guess I just also want to commend everyone that works hard behind the scenes with regarding to the wages. And there's just so much that goes into that you just don't know if you're somebody just watching on YouTube, that goes into all these decisions and the research and the amount of research they do, comparables, and I'm just really pleased with everything that we were able to hear today regarding the wages. And so thanks for all the hard work with that. And again, I second everything with Crystal. You are just a light and your smile's contagious, and I wish you the best of luck. You're going to do great things. I just know it.
All right, thank you. Maggie.
Yeah, I had a couple of things. I think spring break, it feels like this was a long time ago now, but we did have a policy meeting March 18th, and I think I counted 23 policies that came to the board already. And then there was also a wellness committee meeting on March 20th, and thank you to Jennifer for covering that because I was not there. So wanted to note those. A lot of my other stuff folks have covered. Wanted to say congratulations to Christy Wopat, to the Holmen robotics team. I also got to see them on Saturday. Echo everything that was said about Crystal, just to continue down the line here. And then I also wanted to take a second and say congratulations to Chris and Jennifer on successful campaigns, and also to say thank you to Mike Durnan for running. I think until I ran last year, I didn't realize how much work it is to campaign for an elected seat, and it's a lot of work, and it's also fairly vulnerable. And I thought we had really positive campaigns this year, and I heard that from a number of people in the community that it was very refreshing to see people who really want the best for our schools running for office in Holmen. So thank you.
All right. Thank you. And I'm going to let Crystal have the last word, but just before that, I just want to also thank you, Crystal. I think that you have done a phenomenal job as a student rep, and you represented the student body so well. And I loved your enthusiasm, and you're such a bright light here, and I know you have a great future ahead of you. So I really appreciated your reports every single meeting, and you've been an outstanding student rep. So thank you. So it's all yours now.
Well, good evening. I just want to say thank you to those who have presented because I know these are some long and tedious meetings, so those presentations are a lot of hard work, and I do appreciate seeing those as well. We have spring sports. I just want to say that spring sports has finally begun. Woo! And it's honestly looking great so far for our Holmen athletics. So let's continue to support our athletes and give them a lot of good luck. Well, as I am a senior myself, I would also like to say that graduation is almost around the corner. I don't know. But I just want to say that everyone is welcome to come to the graduation of class of 2024 at the Lacrosse Center. More details will be explained probably later in the month by the board. Or parents with graduating seniors, please look up for the information there for cap and gowns and etc. And I'll go to my final thank yous. So, as the time has come, tonight is and will be my last meeting as a board member on this seat. But before I head out, I want to state some really quick thank yous. I want to say thank you to the student body for voting me into this position. Not only have they granted me this opportunity, but they also have given me the right to represent them as Holmen High School's student body and school district, yes. I want to say thank you to Wayne Sackett, Benjamin Jordan, and Nick Bakke for always encouraging and providing the best information necessary for me to create an open and welcoming place for our student, staff, and overall community members. And finally, with my last thank you, I want to thank those who are sitting on the board with me right now. Not only have you guys helped guide me in this position, because I remember the first day I came here, I was really nervous and I was like, what do I say? What do I do? But I'm just very glad that you guys also have included into me with many things like Wellness Committee or DEI. I'm very glad to have a voice in those type of things, as I am also a student, a community member, and a person who is passionate about these type of topics. So, yeah, hopefully holding this position won't be the last positive thing that I can do for Holmen, as I hope to come back one day in the future and give a better and more grand thank you in some way. But yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal. All right, thank you. Yay. We can clap. Okay, moving on to item 11.3. The board has been provided with notes from the January 22nd Wellness Committee and the February 26th Policy Committee meetings. Please take a look at those. Also, the board has been provided with 24 policies from the Policy and Wellness Committees for consideration. If a board member has any questions regarding a policy, they should reach out to Dr. Mueller prior to April 22nd meeting, where the policies will appear on the consent agenda for approval. Moving on to 11.5, the results from the spring 2024 election have been canvassed and are official. Chris Lau and Jennifer Deek received the two highest vote totals and have been re-elected to a 3-year term. And then the board meeting schedule coming up. Later this month, we have a policy committee meeting at 5 p.m. on April 22nd, followed by the board organizational meeting. And then in May, we have a board meeting at 7 p.m. So is there any other business that needs to come before the board at this time? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Chris has moved.
Second.
Maggie has second to adjourn the meeting at 7:38 p.m. Motion carried. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes.